Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for a test match between New Zealand and Australia in the Trans-Tasman rivalry against two top sides in test cricket. Now, one of which being a little bit more top than the other as of late, that being Australia, the World Test Championships, taking on New Zealand, who were the first crowned World Test Champions. Two very good sides, some very nice weather, and hopefully a very good test match just around the corner. Now, New Zealand won the toss and they have chosen to bowl in this matchup. Australia's lineup looking extremely strong. We have got Steve Smith, Usman Khawaja, Marnus Labuschagne, Cameron Green, Travis Head, Mitchell Marsh, Alex Carey, Pat Cummins, Mitchell Starc, Nathan Lyon, Josh Hazlewood. Not too many weak links in that Australian starting lineup. Show the game, says George. I'm surprised you're on the live stream right at the get-go, George. Are you going to be watching any moments of this test match? Out of curiosity, going to be hard. Where is it? And we have got there, it is in Wellington, I should say, for this one. So we did see the Bay Oval last time. This one going to be taking place in Wellington at Basin Reserve. Australia lineup still the same, says LJ the Man. They just don't change it. Seems to be that they'd rather go with the stock standard, what they have used for the past 2 years, somewhere around there, rather than mixing up, which, to be honest, fair enough for this first test match. I feel like you've got to go with what you feel is your strongest side. That for Australia currently includes having Steve Smith as an opener, which is, definitely one that a few people have been confused about. But New Zealand's lineup will be Tom Latham and Will Young at the top of the order. Of course, Devon Conway suffering that injury in the T20 series. Plus, he hasn't quite been in the best form for test match cricket. So it means that he does miss out. Kane Williamson at 3 with Rachin Ravindra, one of the most informed players for the Kiwis. He will be there at number 4. Daryl Mitchell makes his return after missing the short format. Tom Blundell, Glenn Phillips, Scott Kugelheim, Matt Henry, Tim Southey, and Will O'Rourke. So no Neil Wagner, no Mitchell Satner. But for New Zealand, they've gone with the 4 seamers. They've also talked about the fact that they don't really need a specialist spinner because they have got Ravindra and they have got Phillips as well, who can bowl spin. So that is why they've gone with the lineup that they have. Good morning, brother. It's 3:29 in India, says Spartan. And good afternoon, sir, says Surin. And this will be good, says Nick in the chat as well. But yeah, New Zealand winning the toss. It looks like a relatively green top, and from what I've heard, it is going to grip just a little bit. Neil Wagner, of course, announcing his retirement from Test match cricket, but he will not be playing in this one. Instead, has to wait to see if he gets that chance in Christchurch for the second. It is overcast here at the moment, the Basin Reserve, which does mean the swing will be on offer early, and if there is a bit of grip in the surface, like mentioned, it means that it could be quite a tricky session for batting. Steve Smith, Usman Khawaja, the opening pair for the Australians. Of course, Steve Smith, one of the more fidgety batsmen around in world cricket. He will enjoy the challenge of playing in New Zealand, which he hasn't done quite a few years. Google says that Southey is a medium fast bowler. Isn't he fast medium? Also, Will O'Rourke is fast medium, not medium. Says LJ, yeah, I would have them round the other way. Like one day back in the last decade, Tim Southey was a medium fast, but not now. And Williamson continue his great form, says Nick. It's going to be tricky up against such a world-class Australian bowling attack. But I feel like if there was ever a time to do it, it is up against the World Test champions. Just to prove exactly how strong you are. What's up, Hamish? Says Cody, welcome in. It's a good bowling pitch. Although, have you seen the pitch report, says Spartan? It is a very good bowling pitch. Like, both sides would have, I believe, bowled first. Seems like the best choice on a surface like this. Definitely with the overcast conditions as well. You want to go out there, get your 3 or 4 wickets in this first session and apply pressure to the opposition. Average of 46 for Usman Khawaja. He will not have first ball. Instead, it will be Steve Smith on strike. Tim Southey, 99 matches registered for his test career. 376 wickets taken. Of course, we've talked about the Neil Wagner retirement. Is Southey's within the next couple years, Australia has to be favourites. They bat so far down. They are favourites indeed. I think about $1.40 compared to New Zealand's $3, which is fair enough at the end of the day. Their batting lineup, just like the short format, like, they're very handy. But Tim Southee, first ball of the day, and Steve Smith just watching it onto the bat. Little bit of a way swing. 126 kilometres an hour. Do you think Wagner deserved this farewell series against Australia? I mean, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because sometimes, yes, you feel like a player should be in a series, but then other times, like, there still has to be that passing of the torch at some stage. So I wouldn't be surprised if Wagner plays the second test of this series, but I think that they've also got to realise that if you play him in this series completely, then you've left a big gap for when he leaves. So you've still got to try and be forward thinking. Yes, retirement is one of those ones that you never want to see for a player, because definitely not one of the calibre of Neil Wagner, but yeah, you still got to look towards the future as well, or else you become Australia's Test cricket team. Just saying. Like, they're going to be in this scenario how they're going to have guys who are 48, who are still, that sounded a little bit woody, but I think it was Thaipat for Steve Smith. Oh, you've got there, Wagner is a great competitor, but you have to weigh him up against the other bowlers too, says Tuxter. And yeah, even Wagner himself will probably admit he isn't in the greatest form test match wise at the moment. You know, and that can happen. You have ups, you have downs. Steve Smith said that he averaged 69 as an opener, but has not made an impact other than the West Indies last innings. Do you think he is being selfish now, making promises, not fulfilling them? Says Spartan. I think that the problem that Australia have is they're trying to get too many players who do similar things in the same lineup. Steve Smith never should have really moved from 4, but because they want Mitch Marsh and Cam Green in the team, it means that they did have to make adjustments. Warner retiring was a bit of a blessing in disguise, because at least, like, they actually, I guess, had a gap. But yeah, I don't think there's too many times that it's going to be changing. We have there not many test matches go to 5 days now, says Nick. That is true. On a green surface in New Zealand, normally we get a relatively long test match, I would say. That's nicely worked to the leg side from Smith, and that'll be the first run of the day. Australia now off the mark. All right, Alan Hamish. You know, Wagner is pronounced Wagner. He is from the same high school as Duplessis and de Villiers. Says LJ. It's a little bit similar to Labuschagne in terms of his, I guess, pronunciations rather than Labuschagne. Was Bolt available for the series, or selectors ignored him because he is not a central contract? I don't think I'd consider Bolt for this series. And to be honest, I don't think he did that much when he came back for New Zealand in the T20 series. So, like, they're in that similar scenario with Trent Bolt at the moment of he probably wants to play, but is he going to be taking a spot from someone who could help you further down the line than kind of like the final years of someone's career? Yeah, I don't think he was even in at all consideration for this test series. Usman Khawaja. Oh, beautiful ball from Tim Southee, getting a bit of in swing, and also 131.5 Ks. Either the speed radar gun is slightly wrong, or Southee's just bowled one of his quickest deliveries we've seen from him in a pretty long time. But that is a beautiful delivery. Just coming back in a little bit, but not quite enough. Khawaja gives them a nod. Looks at him like, where'd that come from? But that will be the end of the first over. 1-0 for the Australians. And players without recent test cricket are sometimes much worse than their averages, says Tuxter. Very true. And I always like to think that having experience playing is much stronger than having experience in the past. Like, don't get me wrong, experience is great. But if you've got a guy who's played all year, or you've got a guy who hasn't been playing in the same format, like, that can sometimes hurt you. Will you cover all 3 sessions? Nope, not a chance. Unfortunately, we've got too much on today. We're helping coach kids cricket in only a couple hours' time. Alongside that, I have got my own cricket training that has taken place after that. So, yeah, there's no chance, unfortunately, of getting through a whole day of Test match cricket. Definitely not at this time of the year. Oh, off the outside edge, goes through the slip cord, and that is going to race away to the boundary for 4 runs. Steve Smith will get the first boundary of the day for the Australians. It's Southie's 99th match. Today we'll be playing 100th next. It's funny that we are watching him since 2012. Says Spartan. It's crazy to think 2012 is 12 years ago. I feel like time flies by way too quick at the moment. We're already almost on the 3rd month of March. We're currently on the 29th of February, which we won't have next year, of course, due to the leap year. Steve Smith got to keep a close eye on this ball. Matt Henry drawing the edge for the very first delivery, and that one's come back a long way. Managed to leave it alone well, Steve Smith. Yeah, a little bit of a scrambled seam. Just has a little puff off the pitch. Matt Henry, a very handy Test match bowler. Him at one end, Southie at the other. Combination we might see for the Black Cats quite a bit, including maybe in that match at Hagley Oval. Usman Khawaja, he's probably, to be honest, he hasn't had a huge series up against the West Indies. He's had a couple starts, but he hasn't gone on to make that big total. Steve Smith's a little bit the same, other than, of course, that last one up against the West Indies, but will frustrate Steve Smith. He did all that work, and it didn't really lead to too much. As the West Indies able to win that Test match. So for the first time in a while, Australia's first Test match of a series, they're actually coming off a loss. We have got their Hamish views on IPL. We'll be covering it, says Spartan. I will not be, mainly because the games are all taking place at like 3 a.m. for me. And don't get me wrong, I normally cover games at 3 a.m. But just with the rugby schedule as well, there's just too many overlaps. It's like last weekend, I was doing the maths. I was up for 64 hours and only slept for 6. And that was just doing rugby. That was no cricket involved. So, like, even if I wanted to, that extra 6 hours isn't really enough to cover. Like, I could cover 2 games, but it would mean that I wouldn't sleep for 3 days, which I don't think is recommended. Since 2019, time seems to fly too fast. I'm not alone with that feeling. No, ever since like 2008, I think it's been flying quickly. To be honest, like when I hear that Rugby 08 came out almost like 16 years ago, over 16 years, that's a lot of time. Scott Boland, I like to see Michael Nessa play again. See, that's the thing. For Australia, they have got guys that if there were injuries, there's still very good options coming through the rankings. Now, that's going to be off the outside edge as well, I should mention, for the last ball of the over. Goes through the gully region once more. Got it, no worries. Says Spartan. And also good morning, says Pads Ablaze. In there as well. Hope you are doing well, Paddy. Currently overcast at the cricket. Hopefully the rain stays away. I'm just going to have a quick look at the Basin Reserve weather report. I thought that it looks like it's just going to be overcast, but not actually going to lead to too much. Showing the 2 Steve Smith boundaries. Australia A is probably close to being 2nd or 3rd ranked Test side. Says Tuxter. Yeah, like Australia at the moment, depth-wise, are very well set. Yeah, I'm all right. And how are you, Amy? Says Ped today. Blazer, I'm doing very well, mate. Uzi Khawaja. Ready to go again. Oh, that's a good ball from Southie, but it is a good leave from Usman Khawaja. It was right next to the stump. So at the Basin Reserve, ladies and gentlemen, in, I believe it's Wellington. Did you know there's a Wellington in South Australia? I did not know that, but I have just found that out. No rain. It says that it is just supposed to be cloudy for a start, and then this afternoon the sun is supposed to come out. It will rain later, 57% on the weather page. Okay, for me it's actually better later on, and it's cloudy conditions between 1 and 3. Left alone again by Khawaja. Good morning, chat. Hope everyone is doing well. So here's Paddy. I think for Usman Khawaja, if he can dig in his heels here. Oh, there's a no ball from Tim Southey. You can't be bowling no balls when you bowl 120. That's just like, it's an unwritten rule. It's similar to when you're bowling and you're a spinner. Jadeja doesn't learn that though. He actually bowls probably the most no balls. Same with Glenn Maxwell. It's the two guys who are the best fielders give away the most no balls. That's better from Southey. Pitches it up a little bit more. Slightly straighter line, but Usman Khawaja hits it to mid-on. Partly cloudy with showers this morning, and then fine breaks increasing. Southeasterlies easing this evening. Says the weatherman Paddy. That sounds like something that either came straight off Google, Paddy, or you have a way with words when talking about the weather. New Zealand, the biggest thing here for them is getting the early breakthrough wicket. If they can get that one early, oh, that's a good ball, but nicely weighted by Usman Khawaja. Just turns it to mid-wicket. Does get back for the comfortable two. But the big important thing is trying to get Marnus to the crease as soon as possible, getting Cam Green out there. The batting lineup is extremely deep for the Australians. Travis Head batting 5. Somewhere that maybe Neil Wagner could have been a good option. Same with Steve Smith. We've seen that he is susceptible to the short ball of Wagner from Best Weather page. So here's Paddy in there. 2 slips, first and fourth, and then a kind of, I'd almost call him a 5th slip for New Zealand rather than the gully. Didn't quite look like he was wide enough to be in the gully region. Australia, even though they haven't had a huge amount of scoring opportunities, have still managed to get 12 runs on the board at this stage. Of course, those 2 boundaries of Steve Smith through gully did help drastically in terms of those numbers. Like they're saying, you've got to try and entice Usman Khawaja into playing shots. That's a good leave. Little smile on the face of Khawaja after that one went through. Almost, I don't know whether that was a smile because he's like not playing that one, although he almost got enticed into going for it. He's missed it by a good foot or so. Usman Khawaja. I have a feeling, now I don't want to jinx anything, but this is the type of wicket I feel that Khawaja or Smith has a really good opportunity. That's going to be a wide and also an extra run for it. That one's taken off from Southey. It is not what he would have liked at the end of the over, but it is. Wait. Okay, it was just a bye, sorry, rather than a wide as well. I'm sorry, but that one's almost gone off the pitch for Tim Southey. Very lucky that it wasn't called as a wide. And an awkward one for Blundell off the bounce. It's actually not quite the same as how we saw Conway injure his hand, but that is what caused the injury of Conway in the T20 series, was actually that awkward bouncing ball from Adam Milne. Taking him out of Test contention for a little bit, I think, Devon Conway. That and his T20 and Test form. Do you see Conway not playing a big blow? Not really. Mainly because his last few Test matches, like the biggest blow is normally the one when he goes out within the first few overs. And then New Zealand almost open with Williamson, similar to what Australia doing with Steve Smith. So I think it's probably a good thing for him. In a way, it's going to give him time out and also just to get to really work on it. Again, that's a peach from Matt Henry. Gets it to go just across Usman Khawaja. I think it bounced on maybe leg stump line and just continued to drift across Usman Khawaja. Yeah, that one's just done a little bit off the surface, off the seam as well. I said Tom Blundell, he'll be happy catching them around the head height. Matt Henry, can he get the breakthrough though? He's bowled very well. That's going to hit Usman Khawaja on the pad. It was probably close to a thigh pad though. Bit of a shout from the Kiwis, but not too much. Conway got his form back. I think he should stay away from this series. Maybe get in a better condition. He will be very crucial, the West Indies, later for the World Cup, says Spartan. And a bonus that he's got is the current timing. Like, we've got 3 test matches, first-class matches taking place in New Zealand at this stage. There's actually 3 games of the 4-day Shield. That's a good ball from Matt Henry. So what we'll quickly do, ladies and gents, is we'll go sport, we'll go cricket, and, okay, it's not actually on there, fun fact. I was about to have a look. Are they showing the games anywhere? The ones that are taking place at the moment, ladies and gents? Where are we? Or is it tomorrow that... It might actually be tomorrow that it starts. Oh no, it's live now. Yeah, 4-day Plunket Shield. Might be on YouTube. I'm going to have a look around and see what I can find. Plunket Shield. How do you spell Plunket? It's only 1 T. Plunket Shield. Yeah, the games are taking place on YouTube on NZC. For anyone curious about those ones. So yeah, 3 matches live. Canterbury versus the Wellington Firebirds. They've got Northern Districts versus Central Stags, and also Otago Volts versus Auckland Aces. Just looking through, I mean, Chapman's playing. I can see in one of them. They've got, who else we got? We got Pringle, Duffy's bowling in the Otago Volts one. So, yeah, a few good guys playing across those games. And that might actually be what helps push those guys to a New Zealand selection chance if there are injuries or anything along those lines. If you have a big, I guess, effort in a Plunket Shield game, that's normally your next step up going to the Black Caps. At the end of the over, it's 13 for none. Next test match taking place in Christchurch at Hagley Oval. It's going to be between New Zealand and Australia for the second time. That is on the 8th of March that one is starting. I believe I am going to be going to that one. So hopefully it goes all right. So that will be one reason why we aren't streaming on those days, ladies and gents, because we will actually be at the game. Tim Southey. Oh, shot. That is beautiful from Steve Smith. It was almost on the half volley length from Tim Southey. Smith saw it early, got the step right to the pitch of the ball. It's a shame we only ever get 2 test matches, series against the big boys. Says Tuxter. I think it's a massive shame that test cricket in general doesn't have minimum 3 test matches in a series. Because how many times recently have we seen a series not so much ruined, but just a series left unfinished because we didn't get to see the decider? West Indies versus Australia. The young Windies team getting themselves a massive win in the second test to draw the series. And don't get me wrong, there is a chance that West Indies could have been defeated badly in the second test match. Or the third, if there was a third. But you never know, because we didn't get to see it. Same with South Africa versus India. 1-1 in that series in South Africa. That could have been a good one to watch to see who could have finished off the series. Isaac, another friend, also going with you watching second test? Nope. They do not watch cricket. So it is myself and my parents. But I'll probably end up seeing Isaac while I'm up there, seeing as it is in his town that he lives in. It's a shame. I know I read that one. Cricket tickets for the T20 are sold out in the US World Cup for the 1st and the 29th. Says Robert. So yeah, that's pretty awesome that they've been able to sell it out. I assume it's the same for the West Indies games taking place in the Caribbean. I'd like to think they'd be relatively full as well. Plus, it's just a spectacle. Like, it's not very often you get a World Cup in your own country. Steve Smith stepping a long way across his stumps there. If he had missed that ball, I think that the LBW shout would have been on. The thing is, though, with Steve Smith, he doesn't often miss the ball, although he has become more susceptible to an LBW in his recent maybe, I'd say 10 or so innings. Just looks like it's more likely to happen. Just talking about the fact that Steve Smith, when Marnus Labuschagne came into the game and came into the squad for the Australians, there was a lot of time where Steve Smith had to wait to go out to bat. They're talking about the fact that with him opening, he gets to go straight in, doesn't have to wait for Marnus to finish him getting all the runs, although saying that Marnus has been a little bit out of form. He might quite enjoy last 10 innings. We are giving out LBW like 6 times. You are correct. If he misses, he's a goner. C.S. Spartan. And I feel like in the nicest way possible, and I don't mean this as an insult for Steve Smith, but I feel like there is a little bit of something like not arrogance. It isn't arrogance, but like I think it's an overconfidence in himself because he's looking at it as I can step across here and no one's going to get me out. But unfortunately, some people have been getting him out, and I don't think he's willing to make the little adjustments. Like, he did change his batting technique a little bit more recently just to try and adjust a tad, but he's still been getting out LBW since then. Smith is forcing himself to become a test opener. He bats so well at 4. Says, Coding, I mean, he wants a spot in the team, and he wants to try and make it so that they can keep everyone in the team that they currently have. Which means Cam Green has to bat 4. And, like, that's an interesting one. In the future, could it be an option? I think so. Like, Cam Green, he's a good enough player. Some people seem to think that he is a bit overrated. But, like, what he does in the field is just pretty much incredible. Although he was dropping catches in his last game. I think, well, actually the game prior. But that was because he was very unwell. And they shouldn't have selected him, but they did. Because they didn't want to make changes. But, like, he's got a very good technique, and he actually used to open at the lower levels, or the younger levels of cricket, I believe. It's actually quite good that they've got all 3 Plunket Shield matches just live on YouTube. Have to look through at who's in the lineups. Might have to watch that later on tonight. Matt Henry. Oh, that's very close and a very confident leave from Usman Khawaja for a ball that's probably only going over the stumps by maybe about 6 inches. And on such a green top, that's having a lot of faith in the bounce. He seems cool, calm and collected, Usman Khawaja, sitting on 2 runs off 17. Steve Smith, of course, sitting on the 13 off 17, although he has had a lot more, I guess, edginess to his innings, although that beautiful cover drive was the best shot by far. Once again, left alone by Khawaja. Good carry for Matt Henry. They're saying Usman Khawaja happy to let that ball go. It's more about not playing the wrong ball. And on a surface like this, there is going to be deviation and there is going to be a little bit of uncertainty. And that ball lands in the right area. Last ball of Henry's over. Second last, in fact. And once again, it is going to be left alone by Usman Khawaja. He's going to play an extremely patient innings by the looks of it. Now just showing Rachin Ravindra. Also got Glenn Phillips, 2 men who can do spin, which is why they have left Mitchell Satner out of the team and instead gone with Scott Kugelheim. Curious to see who the first changeover will be. I believe Will O'Rourke. Oh, that's a good ball. That one's actually gone the other way for Matt Henry. Brilliantly bowled. It's a maiden for Matt Henry. It is 17 for none. So he's only actually gone for the 8 runs off the 1 over, which were 2 outside edges of Steve Smith. Yeah, that one has hit the seam and gone away drastically. Lineup for Australia, Labuschagne in at 3, Cam Green at 4, and then Head, Marsh, Alex Carey, and they've got the bowlers Stark, Cummins, Lyon and Hazelwood, one of the most formidable lineups in world cricket today. No real changes for the Australians in this test match. Tim Southee now though. Oh, it's hit the pad of Steve Smith, just leaves it alone. Came back a little bit. I feel like there's a lot of Kiwis who want to see the back of Steve Smith. It's actually gone up and hit him almost on the hip. I thought that was initially thigh pad, but I'm just thinking that's back. That's got to be fleshy, that part, I think, for Steve Smith. He's hitting it well, but I don't think he'd have a pad where that hit him. Oh, shot. But it goes straight out to the man at cover. Can't get it past Will Young, and probably lucky for New Zealand, because or else that was going to be another 4 runs. Usman is hanging around. Maybe New Zealand is smelling him. Says Spartan. But that's the thing. Usman Khawaja, as good as he has been, I think that this year and just a little bit in the end of 2023, we've seen Usman Khawaja scoring runs a lot slower than he was prior. And a lot of people call him a proper test batsman in the way that he scores, because he does take quite a bit of time. He's willing to just wait out the good bowlers. But when he goes out, when he's on, let's say, 30 off 100 balls or something, or 30 off 120, you get into that scenario how he hasn't actually progressed the Australian innings that much. But I know that he's capable of scoring at a strike rate of around 50, and normally he takes that first 50 runs to get towards confidence of playing at a strike rate of 50, if that makes sense. Normally, he's much happier playing at around a strike rate of 30 or so up until he has faced 100 deliveries or somewhere around there, and then he starts speeding up. Missing Warner, I think. Yeah, to be fair, he bats probably more aggressive with Warner when he's got his buddy out there. But also, it's just getting used to that left-hand, right-hand combo, isn't it? For so long, Australia found themselves with 2 lefties. And now that Steve Smith is out there, you know, you've got that little bit of adjustment. And it may not seem like much of one, but, you know, there's different changes in the field. Constantly got people moving from side to side when switching between left and right-hand. It certainly speeds up the game when you got 2 of the same hand batting. Well bowled again by Southee. Just talking about the fact that New Zealand have not tried a short ball as of yet in the first 6.5 overs. That is much better than in the T20 series when they drop one short and get hit for 6 every day of the week. Of course, not too many of these Australian players were a part of the T20 series at the same time, that is. They've had their individual chances. Mitchell Stark playing. Oh, that's come back in, but it's an inside edge, Tim. Don't appeal that, and do not review that, Tim. We know how much Southee loves a review. He's been told no because it's hit about, I'd say, the almost middle edge of Steve Smith's bat onto his pad. Mitch Marsh, of course, playing a part in that T20 series also as skipper. Steve Smith actually a part of that 3rd T20 for the Australians as well. It's already 30 minutes down. It's been flying by. The over rate's not terrible. They just show on the batting rankings. Daryl Mitchell is 4th. Kane Williamson, number 1. Can Satner be played as a specialist spinner? I don't think they need him in New Zealand in terms of spinners-wise, because Rachin Ravindra in the last series up against South Africa proved that he is more than capable of playing that spinner role. And you've also got Glenn Phillips, who's another spin option that we don't really see a huge amount of. But Steve Smith, he is ranked 2nd at the moment in the overall batting rating. Usman Khawaja 6th, Marnus Labuschagne 8th, and Travis Head 11th. That's off the edge! Just falls short of Tom Latham. And Khawaja, you would think he had just left that ball because he showed no emotion whatsoever. See Smith is cocky nowadays. Maybe he pressures people in around him batting. But just drops short of Tom Latham. So close. Says pads ablaze. Batting, which is, I think he should not do. Maybe he acknowledges his greatness a lot. Says Spartan, but that one will be left alone. Tell you what, the way Henry is bowling to Khawaja is impeccable at the moment. He is just giving Khawaja nothing to work with. And then that outside edge, very close to carrying. And then just goes short of Latham. Tell you what, Latham, hang on. It didn't hit the bat. Came off the back thigh pad. Geez, that's made a real good woody noise and a real clean looking edge for a thigh pad. But yeah, it wouldn't have been out. And off the back leg. Now Matt Henry is actually going around the wicket here rather than over, just switching up the angle to Usman Khawaja. Definitely because he is getting that seam movement away, getting that deviation off the surface. 3 slips and the gully. See if they can get Khawaja driving. That is beautifully bowled again by Henry. And this has been a spell and a half. As frustrating as it can be, they have to keep that line and length going. Khawaja doesn't know what he wants to try and hit at yet. Henry can't afford to go too wide here or end up straying straight. Oh, it's off the outside edge. It will go through. And that is going to be the boundary to close out the over. Henry has gone for 12 runs. All 3 of those boundaries have been off the outside edge. A lot of luck, Bozzies, in the initial over. So close. Says pads ablaze. And I said they are smelling his wicket. Says Spartan, although smelling it's one thing, but actually getting it's another. And New Zealand have been very close a couple of times, but they haven't got it yet. And this partnership is currently built up to 21 runs off 49 deliveries. Just the 8 overs. Anyone who's confused about how they can have 49 deliveries in their partnership, that is due to the no ball that we saw bowled by Tim Southee. Still counts as a ball for a batsman. Will O'Rourke now coming into the bowling attack. That is to replace Tim Southee. To go 4 overs for just the 8 runs. It's probably one of the slower run rates that we're seeing from Australia in their early stages. 2 matches, 9 wickets. His average is 10, which is very good. Then saying that, he of course is a younger player with not many stats. So if you have a couple of good games near the start, you're going to have some pretty good stats. But here comes Will O'Rourke. Bowling to Steve Smith. Carry 133 or 134 Ks in fact. The way that he steams in and bangs it into the pitch, I feel like he might get it to move a little bit. Might entice Steve Smith. Yeah, it's quite a grassy surface already. Will O'Rourke is also not New Zealand. He's from England, I think. See his coding. Oh, that one's come back late. 134.7, consistently around that same mark. Hopefully he can get a few wickets in his match. Or in this match, he's been really good. See his pads ablaze. And yeah, like up against South Africa, getting the 9 wickets. Doing well there. So they've got quite a good crowd. The Basin Reserve. I believe Hagley Oval will be the same. A lot of people looking forward to that second test match. Eagerly awaiting to find out who wins this one. To know if the series is on the line for... Oh, that's a good shot. Brilliant cut shot, but it goes straight out to Will Young at point. Smith looking at that backward point region going, why didn't I hit it through there? Just a good flicky wrist. Straight out to the man in close. Smith sitting on 13 off 26. It's pitched up. That one's going to be once again a little bit outside edgy. Rally there from the Kiwis in the deep, and it does lead to 2 runs for Steve Smith. At the moment, it just seems like Steve Smith isn't quite sure what Will Rourke is doing. He had 9 for 93 in the second test match up against the South Africans. Very strong bowling. Steve Smith is hitting the edges more often than the middle of his bat. I believe if this was cricket for about 10-year-olds, that seems to be about when the sledging starts coming in, they would say his bat's like a donut, all edges, no middle. But of course, he did have that one really good cover drive, which was nothing but middle for Steve Smith. Yeah, looking decent enough. Will O'Rourke, I should say. Steve Smith getting squared up quite a bit. The early stages of this test match. And I don't really know what a pass score is on the surface. Of course, 400's ideal. 350, you'd still be probably relatively happy. Depending on, oh, that's come back in. And it is going to be bouncing over the stumps. No shot offered from Smith. That'll be the end of the over. 23 for none. Feel good there. You can say he's on edge. You could. Yeah, that one's come back in. Hit him on the thigh pad. So it was going over the stumps. There's actually some very good bounce on the surface from what we've seen. Sally has bowled the 4 overs, gone for the 8 runs. Matt Henry has bowled 4 overs, gone for 12. I believe that they've got to keep Matt Henry bowling to Usman Khawaja. Definitely after his last ball found the edge. And the Fab 4 Kohli Kane route, when they bat, they look classy. But it is not the case with Smith. It looks funny, says Koning. Well, for a man with a funny batting style, as you've put it, he scored 9,600 plus runs. So, you know, it may look funny, but it's very effective. Matt Henry now still trying to keep that pressure on Usman Khawaja. Just over the top of the stumps again. Everything is thereabouts from Matt Henry. Commentator has just said either Khawaja's a genius or he's had a little bit of luck here. But he's just leaving on length. And luckily for him, it is coming through all right. And form follows function, says Gus. Oh, a big Yorker attempted from Matt Henry, trying to mix it up, but maybe just a little bit too full. It was actually more of a full toss towards Usman Khawaja, but Matt Henry now going round the wicket. He's trying to find that edge of Usman Khawaja, but it's just consistently close, but not quite for Matt Henry here. Oh, once again, another Yorker attempted from Matt Henry. I'm wondering whether or not this is to try and set him up. A little bit of a double bluff. Go Yorker, and then drag that length back just a little bit to see whether or not can get the drive. Without Amazon Prime, where can I see a live match? Whereabouts are you from, Shank? Do let me know. But yeah, depending on where you are, will depend if it's a free option or a paid subscription to be able to watch it. Oh, that one's hit the pad of Usman Khawaja coming back in. Because if you're in New Zealand, it is on TVNZ Plus, and if you've got a VPN, you can actually set yourself to New Zealand to then watch it on NZ, or TVNZ Plus, I should say. Did you hear about Neil Wagner retires from international cricket? So sad, he was a great player with a ton of passion. Says Pads and Blaze. Yeah, Neil Wagner, he's always one of those players that if you needed someone to bowl 15 overs, which sounds insane, but if you needed someone to bowl 15 overs and they were going to bang it in, steaming the whole time, there is no one in cricket, I think, that was more effective in a scenario like that than Neil Wagner, because he just seemed to have a gas tank that wouldn't stop. They showed, I remember it was one test match, it was either the front or the back of his foot, he completely destroyed. Blisters everywhere, and he just kept on going and going and going, and eventually got the wicket. Cricket in the USA is so expensive to watch. So here's Gus. So hopefully the T20 World Cup does help. Maybe prices drop a little bit, although saying that, if there's more interest, of course, then it's still going to be quite expensive, I would think. We are already 42 minutes through this first session, 10 overs in for the Australians. Do they have one wicket in this first hour, New Zealand? They've fought hard for it. Steve Smith trying to turn that to the leg side, and he's been hit on the thigh again. You'd have to hope he's got some good protection under there, or else he's going to have about 15 bruises all on those legs. See, that angle of Will O'Rourke's just brought that right across Steve Smith to hit him on the thigh pad. And the good news is that one did hit the thigh pad, I'm sure of that. Steve Smith, how does he counter? Does do the back foot punch through point. Chasing this one, Glenn Phillips, one of the quickest fielders around. The rally with Will Young again. Why Wagner cried at that press conference because he was forced to retire, I think. Says coding. I mean, I haven't actually seen it. I would assume that it's just an emotional time for him. I mean, you see how much passion he has when he's out on the field, so you'd assume it's the same when he realises that he's close to the end of not just his test career, but probably like his overall career as well in cricket. Would be a big shame, of course. I think he'll still hang around on the New Zealand circuit a bit longer. Nice drive forward, no run for the Australians though. A little bit of a misfield from Southee, but it didn't cost them. He still was able to cut that ball off. Just showing slightly different angle for Tim Southee. Just changing his hand position where he's releasing that ball. Will O'Rourke just gone for the 4 runs. It's the only New Zealand bowler who has not had a maiden so far. Little fun fact there. It's not really much of a stat because we've only had 10 overs, but there you go. Big loss for New Zealand, that's for sure. Sands Pads Blaze, I'm sure he would have been very handy in this series. Like, I probably would have picked him over Kugelheim because at the end of the day, if Australia are digging in and you need someone to bowl those short balls over and over and over again, nobody likes to retire except if you are Alistair Cook, says Coding. Oh, shorter ball to Steve Smith. 133 Ks. Steve Smith, I think there was a bit of talk about how he didn't like short pitch bowling. Felt like the rules should be changed so that you aren't able to bowl as short as often. Just getting underneath that one. The elbow almost came up there, Steve Smith. That would have really hurt. You got hit there, especially when you get forced into retirement. There's Bads ablaze. Well, that one's come back a long way. Steve Smith watching it closely. That'll be the end of the O'Rourke over. There's 25 without loss off the 11 overs so far. Is that guy asleep under a tree? It actually looks like he is. Unless he's on his phone or something. Is Kugelheim making test debut? I'm not actually sure if it's his debut or not, or whether he's had a chance before. I haven't really heard too much overall about it. When we see him bowl it, we'll let us know because, of course, we'll see his stats and whatnot. Matt Henry looks like he is going to continue bowling to Usman Khawaja, hoping that eventually that wicket will be drawn out. Now, we saw 2 pitched up deliveries from Matt Henry. Then he brought back his length and tried to attack the pads of Khawaja. Just needs to find that edge, Matt Henry. Another Yorker. Okay, this seems to be a different tactic. Some sort of setup coming here from Matt Henry. I think he's trying to encourage Khawaja to play. And then I think that he'll go with that one a little bit wider outside off stump. See whether or not Khawaja tries to lash at it, has a bit of a drive. At least that's the tactic I think Henry's going with. I could be wrong. Imagine going to a test match and end up falling asleep. Imagine falling asleep, though, in the first half an hour of the test match. Like, yeah, it would be unfortunate. But then saying that, like, I know it sounds weird to say, but some people actually do go to the cricket not with the intention of sleeping, but they don't mind if they do because, like, I feel like it's a little bit of a... See, this is going to sound weird to say. It's a chilled out environment, even though there's like a whole heap of people around. Like, you're just at the afternoon at the cricket. You know, if someone cheers, you'll get to wake up and see what's happening. But until then, you can just relax and enjoy. I always think bowling first in Test cricket is somewhat defensive. Do you agree? Says Coding, I do not. No, I think that it completely depends on the surface. And no one wants to bat first on a pitch that's doing a whole heap and get bowled out for under 200. Nothing wrong with a little nap, says Jared. Exactly right. I need to learn the art of napping because I sadly do not have it. Like, I either sleep for a long time or I'm tired if I kind of have a short sleep. That's nicely worked up the pads for Usman Khawaja. He wasn't too keen on running 2 there, I don't think. Or Steve Smith, at least, wasn't sure if he wanted it. Who's going to win this test? Says J.K. Anton. I mean, when you look at Australia's lineup, they do look like the heavy favourites, but it's whether or not New Zealand are going to be able to stop this Australian attack. Like, they have to get the wickets early, though, and I feel like they're starting to lose that chance. If this gets to 50-run partnership, it's going to be tricky. After a few drinks, of course. Says Jared, and yep, watching cricket is a chill thing. Says Tuxter. Just the 1 ball left. I think they've just mentioned Cougar Lion's got 1 test to his name. And just showing that Australian lineup. Once again, they have gone with selection of, I believe, 90% or 80% or so of the Australian lineup is older than 30. Which one you enjoy, rugby or cricket, says Coding. I enjoy watching both. I feel like everyone always tries to get me to choose one, but they're so different. Like cricket, like you don't see any rugby games taking 6 hours. They're also summer and winter sports here in New Zealand, so they're different in terms of when they are played. So, yeah, I feel like you can like both of them with no problems. I've fallen asleep in class. That's impressive. I feel like that's a lot harder to do. Although it depends on how big your class is. If there's a lot of people in your class, it's probably a little bit easier. And now, Will O'Rourke will continue. He's gone for the 4 runs so far of his first 2 overs. Matt Henry has bowled the 6 overs. He'll still feel like he's got a chance of getting Usman Khawaja out. It's whether or not he wants to bowl 1 more, though. O'Rourke getting it to move across. Steve Smith drifting down leg. (17 off 37). That's the thing. Even though Steve Smith has looked at times a little bit shaky in terms of what he's deciding to do with the balls that have been bowled at him, like he's still doing very well. He is sitting 17 runs. Got a few boundaries. Cricket is great for chilling out, having a few drinks, and rugby is more fast-paced and with more action in a shorter time. Says Bands Ablaze, all big attempted drive from Steve Smith. It was the inside edge. He's frustrated with himself. He wanted the cover drive. He didn't get it. He was pointing in the direction he wanted it to go. Yeah, it's coming off the surface, though. I think he just said a bad word, Steve Smith. I haven't got him stumped or mic'd up like we had throughout the T20 series of different players. It's going to be left alone outside off stump again. Three balls left in this O'Rourke over. I feel like if he sets him up here, you can't really give him a wide one, but I would be maybe bowling him another short one at some stage. The episode of Mr. Bean falling asleep in church is quite funny. Says Jared. And I always fall asleep in class, mostly in the last period while reading time starts. Says Bad. So I feel like every episode of Mr. Bean is quite good. Oh! That came off the pad, but it also came off the bat, I believe. It was an inside edge, I thought, for Steve Smith, and it almost carried to the gully. Great bowling from Will O'Rourke. Drawing him in. Did he edge it? No, just off the pad. Came back. Not much of a shot offered from Steve Smith, but they call it enough of one that it wasn't worth the shout. Oh, there's the short one from Will O'Rourke, just to try and put something different in the back of Steve Smith's mind. As Steve Smith beginning to seem a little shaky out there. So he's touched it a little bit, but saying that just is Steve Smith's style. Like, so it's probably not the end of the world because he'll still look shaky and get a big score. Rugby you can't because there's always action. Cricket you can because it goes quiet sometimes, says Nick. Yeah, I can't imagine falling asleep in a rugby stadium. Whereas in a test match, I feel like it's quite a nice environment. I see, says Tucker. But yeah, he hasn't looked his best yet, Steve Smith, yet he's still on 17 runs. I guess that's just a sign of a very strong player that he's able to get through the tricky patch. Usman Khawaja on 8 runs off 38, and that is one of the big differences as well. Like Steve Smith, yes, he had a couple outside edges that went to the boundary, but you're still in that scenario of a lot more runs than Usman Khawaja at this point. Sounds like Tim Southee's coming back into the bowling attack from the other end, except when England are playing baseball, says Nick. That is true. I mean, some people hate the way that England play, and it seems to be something that happens on social media a lot. People like to ridicule them for it, but like, there's no denying how effective it has been and the amount of extra eyes that it has brought to Test match cricket. Because if you like T20, your best chance of liking Test match cricket is watching England bat. And that's just a fact. If you like seeing high scoring rates, England will keep it interesting for you. So I don't understand why people are like, oh, you know, baseball's so terrible because England lose sometimes. Like, every team loses sometimes. Australia lost their most recent one. I think the uneven bounce on New Zealand pitches will be telling when we get to day 3, says Tuxter. And yeah, with such a grassy wicket, I think the likeliness is it will harden on day 2, and then, like you said, day 3, hopefully it will still be relatively good, but day 4 and 5 could be a bit of a lottery. I can see Nichols in the boundary line. I thought he was dropped. Nicely played again. They might have brought him in maybe due to Conway's injury. Might have been the little switch. I wouldn't want to be sleeping while the 6 is hitting your direction, says Jarrett. See, that's the one part of it that, of course, you want to make sure that you still had someone close to you, that you're like, hey, if I fall asleep, can you catch the ball if it comes towards me, or at least, like, push me out of the way? I love how England plays. I hate to say it, but it works and it's fun to watch. And it's entertaining. They make it exciting, says Nick. Yeah, that last Ashes series between England and Australia, like, some people really dislike that series, but you can't deny how entertaining at times it was watching England smacking the ball around and then seeing Australia even start to incorporate it a little bit at times throughout the series. But, there's going to be times that it doesn't work. It's like any format, T20. Look at New Zealand. They got 200 in that first game and then go on to get bowled out for about 120 in their second. I'm so disappointed with England, all one-sided matches except the first test. Says Coding, once again, they're playing in India. How many teams do well playing in India? Not many. So I think for England to even have that first test match on Indian soil is a lot more than a lot of people thought that they would have. And, there's been some of the test matches that have actually gone a little bit close. There's been times that India, had they made one or two more errors and had England taken one or two more chances, England could have ended up in a good position to win one. Oh, a little bit leg side-ish. Oh, Steve Smith slips over. Ravindra, though, takes a bit too long. Southie's frustrated because that could have been the chance to get rid of Steve Smith. Smith's going, why didn't we run? It was through a gap. Now he's gone, I need a new set of gloves. But it was to the leg side. Khawaja just watches on. Khawaja wasn't fussed one bit. He looked at Steve Smith as if to say, well, I'm not running, so why are you? And yeah, very hard to beat on their turf, says Jared. Exactly right. And I mean, we've seen some good performances from some young English players as well, perhaps getting themselves chances in the future. So that's pretty much in an away series in foreign conditions that they aren't used to playing in. The biggest thing I believe is looking for new up-and-coming talent and see who are cementing their spots in even the tough conditions. Nicely played again. My Usman Khawaja. Yeah, I agree. Teams lose all the time. So why do you care how they play? Says Bads Ablaze. And I know that even the most recent series between New Zealand and South Africa, I think it was even yourself coding. I could be wrong here, but I believe it was yourself who put about how New Zealand were playing in a boring manner because they were only scoring 2 and a bit per over. But that's what most people are still trying to say is what Test cricket should be. Yet cricket faithful are calling it boring. So it's really tricky, isn't it? Duckett is very good at baseball. Zach Crawley, he's a player that in current Test matches, if you stick him out there and say you have to score at 2 or 3 and over, Zach Crawley will go out. And it will just happen 9 times out of 10. He doesn't have the ability of batting slow because he only knows one way, and that is to keep the game progressing and keep that run rate ticking over. And yes, every once in a while he'll go out. And same with Duckett. Fantastic player, can end up with 50 or 40 balls. Can also end up with maybe a golden duck. But, at least England, one benefit we've had is they get results. Win or lose, you're going to see a result in an England Test match because they don't mess around and they do get the runs in quick enough time that we don't see games going to a draw. And I think if you ask them, would you rather play a 5-day Test match and go to a draw, or would you rather have it happen in 4 days and have a good shot of either winning or losing it? I feel like they'd still take the winning or losing option. It's 4:29 a.m. and I'm watching New Zealand versus Australia. New Zealand never does well playing tests in India. I think we really need to prepare for those pitches better somehow, says Tuxter. Although, even that most recent series between India and England, we've seen that even India, I don't think we're properly prepared for the amount of variation we were going to see on some of their wickets. They've been bowled out cheaply a couple times, more than they would have liked. Now, Wagner happy to be there. Would have loved to have been in this Test match. Good morning, mate. Good to see you here. Oh, that's down the leg side. Great bit of work from Tom Blundell. True that, says Tuxter. That one above the shoulder. New Zealand will be playing 3 Test matches in India later this year. Will you see New Zealand winning any Test? It'll be tricky. Maybe 1 if they're lucky. So that just proves once again with a statement like that England losing 3 and winning 1's not actually that bad in India. could be a different series if England were playing in England up against this Indian lineup. And I think that it's the same in terms of India. We've seen some great young talent coming in through their team. You know, Jaiswal has just been absolutely phenomenal. And it's proven that maybe Virat Kohli, as good as he is, they've still got the potential outside of him in the side. I think that Rohit Sharma, he's actually been probably the most disappointing Indian player throughout the series up against England in his home conditions. And we will win 2 and lose 1. Says Pads Ablaze. Oh, that one's come back in a long way as well. Smith's just not picking O'Rourke. The moment that is going to be the end of the over. Back-to-back maidens for Will O'Rourke here. That's 27 without loss. But we are now at the drinks break, ladies and gentlemen. Now, our original plan was to only cover the first hour due to the schedule that we've got. Like I mentioned, I am coaching kids cricket today. Hopefully, we'll get them hitting the ball a bit sweeter than Steve Smith has been throughout his first hour of play. But then also I've got my own cricket training after that. And a couple of videos to do as well. O'Rourke has done amazingly well for a rookie. Says Tuxter, yeah, like for a guy who's only had 2 test matches, or only a debut up against South Africa, this being his second, like, he's done exactly what he's needed to. And that is just put it outside off stump, try and trouble Steve Smith. Because if you bowl wide or you bowl short consistently, like, Steve Smith's going to work it out. But because he's mixed it up so much, Smith just hasn't quite been able to work out what the surface is doing in terms of deviation. But yeah, we'll do a couple more overs of this test match. We have how much age kids you are teaching cricket. How much age kids? So I assume you're asking how old they are. So the team that I helped coach yesterday. So I should mention I'm not actually their coach. I just helped with some of the trainings. So the team yesterday, I believe, averaged anywhere between 7 and 10 years old, I think it was. And then the team today is a little bit the same, kind of between that 7 and 10 gap. And then my training, of course, with the slightly older team as well. At day 1 of this first test match, weather's still looking cloudy. It's a wasted opportunity. The pitch looks great for bowling, but they didn't capitalise there, Spartan. Well, the good news is the ball's still doing plenty, and the pitch is still doing plenty. So, couple quick wickets here for New Zealand, and they'll be right back where they need to be in this match. And the benefit that they've got is Australia are only on 27 runs. So, I would say that it's only once this partnership moves towards 40 or 50 that New Zealand have missed the boat. But until then, like 27 for 1 still looks very good on the scoreboard. As a win for Australia, till now losing no wickets, says Coding. Yeah, it's definitely the question mark of what's going to come in the second over for these sides. Now Tim Southey be continuing his bowling. He's only bowled the 5 overs at this point, 8 runs off his bowling. Last 3 overs, we have not seen a single wicket. Now, normally the rule of thumb, and we've seen this actually be effective before, is 3 maidens in a row, the wicket normally comes the next over. New Zealand missing a run out. Are they lacking in field already? Says Spartan. Although I think you'll find that Steve Smith was probably going to get back anyway. Like, Tim Southey was frustrated, but I think that was more of the case because of how far Ravindra had to get to then throw that ball towards the bowler. So, like, I don't think I'd call that a missed run out because I think Smith was back anyway. Out Tim Southey. Continuing his spell, almost gets the outside edge of Khawaja. Just drifts across. just a little bit of swing and then straightens as it gets close to Usman Khawaja. Like they're saying, just playing the patience game at the moment. Khawaja's grinding it out. Real test cricket says, or playing real test cricket, says Coding. So I'll ask you the question, Coding. You felt that New Zealand would be boring when they were only scoring at 2 and over in that matchup against South Africa. Do you feel like Khawaja's being boring now? Or have you changed your mind and decided that this is the type of cricket that you want to see? I'm curious. I think it can change remarkably quickly in Test cricket, says Tuxter. And yeah, it only takes one good over or one good ball to be able to completely change the momentum. And Australia still, I don't think, have enough runs on the board to feel comfortable losing a wicket at this point. Southee. Again, left alone by Usman Khawaja, who is sitting on 8 off 48 deliveries. We've seen one boundary go through the gully region for Khawaja and a couple other shots being turned to leg side. And Mark Richardson in the commentary has just said that he looks at the score at the end of the day rather than looking at the score in just the first session. I think Australia, they'll be lucky to break 60 after the first hour, or sorry, the first 2 hours of this test match. Just drifting across once again here. 17 off 47 for Steve Smith. Almost 100 balls faced. Australia going to win easy. Now close New Zealand is bum, says Luke. New Zealand is bum. I don't think I've ever heard someone use a sentence like that. Like New Zealand is bad, maybe, but what's bum? 16 overs through. If it had an S on the end, maybe, but then you'd have to change is to R, wouldn't you? 16 overs through, 27 for none. Just mentioned about 8 a.m. there was a bit of rain. Still. Oh, we're getting another drinks break by the looks of it. Or Southee is trying to get a little bit off the bottom of his shoe in terms of that grass, and that is mainly from running on the wicket when bowling. Scott Kugelheim. It's Test career. In fact, it's not his debut, sorry. He has played 2 matches before this point. Has 4 wickets. Average of 40. He played against England to get knocked around quite drastically. But it's going to be a big test for him because he's probably playing rather than Neil Wagner. Gen Z for you, bum, says Barden. Smith saying there's a little bit of spin. Aussie 147 all out, says Pratik there. Okay. I mean, New Zealand would be more than happy with that, of course, definitely because of how deep this Australian bowling attack and their batting attack does go. Like they've got like 6 bowling options. They've got about 8 guys who could be in the top order with the way that they bat, maybe 7. Alex Carey, he's opened before in T20 cricket, and I feel like he'd actually be quite a good option up the top had he not been wicket-keeping. Oh, that was close to Steve Smith's pad first before the bat. And Aussie 700 declared before tea today. Says Tony, I'm not saying boring, but at least 54 strike rate should be the benchmark, at least, in this era to win test matches. Says Coding. So with Usman Khawaja and his current strike rate of 16, what are you saying about that? I mean, Steve Smith's at 36, but I feel like Steve Smith hasn't been scoring too slowly. 18 off 49, still decent enough, I would say. But, yeah, Usman Khawaja, you think, the thing is, by 50 balls, you think he'd worked out something, but he just hasn't really. And I think that that's a testament to the New Zealand bowling, that they've been so consistent to him that he hasn't had freebies to go after. And when they have bowled a little bit of a looser ball, he hasn't been able to actually capitalise. But well bowled by Kugelayan. Quite a bit of in-swing this time for him to the left-hander Khawaja. So 3 and over for me as a pass, says Tuxer. Yeah, I agree. Like somewhere around 3. Sometimes it's going to be lower than 3. Other times it's going to be a bit higher. But looks like Kugelayan's taken a knock on the head. I don't know if that's actually the way his forehead normally is, but he has got a kind of a hill about there. Oh, worked to the leg side nicely. Just over pitch so far from Kugelayan in his over. And though it's only the first session, 50 for none, be a perfect start, says Tony. And he does have a bit of a different bowling style when he bowls it. He's almost he's not quite a slinging arm, but it is a little bit further out than you normally would see for a bowler. 2 slips and the gully. I disagree with Coding. Bazball plays with 80 minutes min strike, but it's not working out much. It's been backfiring them, says Spartan. Oh, shorter ball. Steve Smith did not quite have control of that pull shot. I was saying 54 should be the strike rate minimum after batter has played at least 50 balls. He's settled on the pitch, says Coding. 3 singles already coming off Kugelayan's over. He's been mixing it up big time. He's gone short ball, Yorker, short ball. Seems like he's bowling for a T20 rather than a test match at this stage, Kugelayan. Now Kugelayan last ball. It was Khawaja. Pitched up and it's nicely played in behind it. Be the end of the over. 3 runs off it and 30 for none for the Australians. We have got there something about the live cricket match video streaming in there. I said you're going after 2 overs. Says Coding, sounds like you want me to leave, Coding. Most people would have just stayed quiet, so I stayed a bit longer, but I see you're keen to get rid of me. We'll probably stay for a couple more, seeing as we've got the bowling change. So I have a bit of a look. I need to find that test match length, says Tony. And like they're saying, with the ball still swinging, you need to be pitching it up. I disagree again, Coding, because in the earlier pre-80s, 90s era, strike rate didn't matter a lot, and still it's irrelevant to the test game, says Spartan. Depends on the conditions of the pitch. If it is tricky conditions, then a lower strike rate is acceptable. I want you to cover all 3 sessions, says Cody. Of course, the kids that I'm supposed to be coaching in cricket probably would be quite angry if I was to just blow them off so that I could cover the cricket instead and just leave them down there by themselves. And agree, says Tuxter. Yeah, there are going to be times tomorrow, for instance, if Australia is still batting, which I believe that they should be, there's going to be times where Australia is scoring 5 runs and over if the surface hardens. Stuff kids actually need you. Says Tony, Neil Wagner should have retired after the series. Would have been a great farewell, says Pratik. He is retiring after the series, I believe. But he's still going to be a part of the series. It's just whether or not he actually plays or whether he just is on the sideline for the rest of it. I wouldn't be surprised if they bring him in for Kugelayan in the second test match, though. I actually think that that might be something that happens. Southey, overpitched, and a shot down the ground from Steve Smith. Goes for 4. That'll be the first boundary that we have seen in about maybe, I think it's been 11 overs or so. Or maybe a little bit less than that, but it's been a long time, maybe about 10 overs since we've seen a boundary scored by the Australians. You can do multitasking, commentary, and coaching. I do hope you're joking, because That's not an easy thing to do. Mainly because I will also be talking to them, so I can't really talk about the game while being at the local nets, while also doing the coaching and the commentary. You teach girls cricket too, says Spartan. It's a mixed team, the ones that I've been helping with. So, yes, there are girls and there are the boys as well. And nope, he's retired fully already. He's been playing the series. Says Better. Oh, I didn't realise that. I thought that since he's still with the team, so I thought that if there was an injury or something, he could actually end up being brought back in. 3 slips in the gully. I guess that's why the Plunket Shield is so important for the sides currently playing in it, because if you're able to get yourself a good few phases, just joking, says Coding. But yeah, if you get yourself a good Plunket Shield game and there are injuries that come into the Black Cat side, then all of a sudden, you could be running drinks, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but at least you're in that environment. You get to feel what it's like. Few young good players in the Plunket Shield at the moment to break through into the Black Caps. Last ball of the Southie over now to Smith. And it is left alone. Once again, almost on that half volley length. Smith decides against the offer to drive. Right, so I believe this will be the last over that we will be covering for today, ladies and gentlemen. But we are hoping to do a little bit more of the test match in the near future. We have got there, Amish, why don't you apply for higher cricket level? Maybe target national cricket? No chance. I don't even play for the top grade in my club. So, yes, I probably could, but nah. No, I'm about as far off the Black Caps as you can be. We probably have kids at the local club who are about 14 who can bat better than me. So we'll let them do that. I'm a bit past it in terms of, cricketing, I guess, experience needed, but also, cricketing time, if that makes sense. What's the criteria of playing in the Plunket Shield? Do these kids aspire to play national cricket for the Black Caps? Says Coding. I think a couple of them do. The Plunket Shield's just normally your provincial one, similar to what we see for the Super Smash. Although Super Smash does seem to have a few changes made overall, so more of the one-day cricket. No, you got your regional kind of cricket stuff. Over there, I could push to play pro rugby, but no, I just like playing club rugby. Says Bads Ablaze. Yeah, to play international cricket, you've got to, commit. Everything. So, for me to do anything like that, even though I know that that wouldn't happen, but for me to do anything like that, that would mean that YouTube would disappear for myself. That would mean that work would have to be put on hold. And you just end up training and training and training. Do it, man. Be great. Still see 30 years old working to get a selection. Don't say you can't try maybe in the future. See, Spartan, it just depends on what you want as well. At the end of the day, I think I have more fun playing the cricket that I'm playing because I don't have a competitive bone in my body, really. I'm more for the fact of playing cricket because I enjoy playing it rather than the stress of having to perform. I'm out of form at the moment playing cricket, but I don't mind because I still get to play. Of course, it would be nice to score some runs, but that'll come at some stage. You're either on or you're not. At the moment, I'm not, so see if we get better soon. Maybe it's Sammy in a cricket game. Says Pads Ablaze. It'll be interesting. You'd be better off coming and playing for us, Paddy, for a week. Khawaja's on 10 off 54. I'll be honest, it looks a lot better when you're on double figures. Playing cricket matches makes you calm and reduce your tension, says Coding. It does, until you're in that scenario of having to bat to win a test match or anything like that. Because test match cricket, I think has always been the format that if I was to ever try and go on and do better, it's one of those ones that I would definitely rather play long format. I would win, to be honest, says Pads Ablaze. Well, I've never seen you play. I know that you're injury prone, so felt like I'd have to use that to my advantage. Pretty harsh, wasn't it, Paddy, eh? Fighting words, those ones. Down the leg side, poor ball from Cougar Lion. He's just relieving a lot of the pressure at the moment. The Australians were under. Getting out for a duck would suck. It does. I went out for a golden duck a few weeks ago in like the older competition, the Next Rand Cup. Just pure, clean bowl. Lovely stuff from the bowl. A form is temporary, class is permanent. And myself applied for a Ranji Trophy in India, says Spartan. 2 slips. That's rugby, then again I continue to play, says Pads of Blows. And that's all. It's well fielded in the gully. I think it bounced before him. And it looks like he's hurt his hand as well, Glenn Phillips. Doesn't look too happy. They're just commentating. Oh, they've got a roaming reporter who I don't think knew what he was going to say. Then the guy who he interviewed didn't know what he was going to say. And yeah, it was an interesting interview. Probably not the best one they've ever done. What happens if you burst out in Shield and club cricket? Maybe you can form another Devon Conway, who knows? Says Spartan. Yeah, I'd have to start scoring runs first, I think. In India, there is no chance to aspire to become one of one. So much cricketers are there. So and even in New Zealand, like there's a lot of cricketers. Although saying that, like guys that I've played against have played in the provincial competition in New Zealand. Oh, Khawaja pulls it away for 4. Did it go all the way for 6? I think it was on the bounce. I just want to check this one again, but Khawaja, he's seen his 50 balls and now he's looking to go a little bit more aggressive here. Oh, he looked fired up before that ball was even bowled, Khawaja. Helped it on its way. Southie missing his line, bowling it a little bit too straight. Looking for the ball, I can't see it. I did not even see where that bounced. That man's saying it was 6 though. Best of luck with it, Hamish. I will definitely pay for you in the 2027 World Cup final, says Spartan. I think my best chance of getting selected for the Black Caps is on Cricket 22. But fun fact, at the moment in my career mode, what it says under Black Caps for selection chance is no chance. So that's not ideal. It's been given as a 6 though for Usman Khawaja. Whereas the ball says Bads of Place. Yeah, I didn't even see it bounce in that shot that they showed. Blends in very well with the green grass. Ooh, that one moved across Khawaja again. Better on the line now. Good answer back. But I mentioned about how when Australia were 27 for none, that was one of those scenarios that they were probably not happy with the amount of runs that they had scored, which would have meant that if New Zealand got a wicket, then they would have been under a lot more pressure. But now being sitting where they are with the 43 runs on the board, I think that is definitely a good opening partnership for Australia. Just consistently trying to put it in the good region here. Moves across him again there. Very well bowled by Tim Southee. Only the 2 balls remaining that we will be covering. They've clawed it, unfortunately, says Spartan. But yeah, we will hopefully be back for some more of this test match. I struggle to play on offside shots. Any tips? Mainly all shots on the leg side. Oh, okay, that's interesting because I'm the complete opposite. I prefer playing on the offside, but believe it or not, this year I've scored way more of my runs on the leg side, mainly because with the offside, they're so heavily compact in the field that you end up going straight to the fielders. But I would say the best bit of advice is to get that foot across and also get that head above the ball. Because if you can play a drive, and also, like, that's the thing, are you more of a cover driver with the elbow up, like a straight drive like that, or are you a cross bat, kind of wider slashing drive? Because they are very different. in terms of the way that you can play them. I'd be more of a test player if I do play. So here's Pads Ablaze. Once again, left alone. But then saying, like, I haven't scored a lot of runs on the offside throughout the season. Like, I'll show you a clip at the end of this over, which some of you guys have seen multiple times. But it's a shot that I've never played in a game. Because in a game scenario, you know that there's more risk than reward when it comes to trying to loft it over the top of the cover region. Hamish, tell us why coaches advise to play straight most of the times. In my case, as you said, I score on the offside maybe 80% of my runs. So the reason you're told to play straight normally not only is to try and have more chance of having the full bat face going towards the ball, but also playing straight means that your foot's going forward, you're kind of going outwards towards it, but it also means that like you've got a little bit less chance of getting those edges, because when you're trying to hit the ball sideways, of course, your bat's probably rotated a little bit, unless you're the full cross bat. So it's more of the case of just trying to limit your chance of getting caught behind. And also it helps get your weight going forward. Depends where the ball is pitched. Determines what shot to play, says Jared. And picking length is one of the best things that you can do and that you can practice for cricket. Because if you can pick the length, then you know whether you're moving forward or back. Whereas if you don't know what length it's going to be and you're premeditating going forward and then you get a short one, makes it very tricky. But that shot that I was talking about, this is a shot that I will never play in a game, I don't think, because I just know I will go out. Never playing that shot in a game. Can guarantee you that right now. I tried playing one down the ground and I got it just over the field, but almost got caught. So, risk and reward. That's a good ball from Cougar Lion. I think it's going down leg. Maybe. Nothing going. Tim Southey looks like he wants to go upstairs. What's the line like? I think it's going down leg, but they're going to check it anyway for Cougar Lion. Right, after this review, if it's out, we'll watch the end of the over. Maybe try more grounded. Well, that's what I play 99% of the time. I don't play lofted shots during a game. Most of the time, anyway. Because I know that the risk is not worth going out to, if that makes sense. And I can score runs hitting it along the ground. That's going down leg, I think. Khawaja's deep in his crease, but I think that that's still going to be travelling a little bit too far down the leg side. There's always going to be going across a little bit more. At best, I would say umpire's call. Yeah, I would say at best umpire's call here. I'd be very surprised if it's 3 reds. Just with that angle, looks like it was travelling just a little bit too far across. We're about to find out. Original decision was not out. Impact in line, and it is missing down the leg side. So the review is lost for New Zealand. And on that note, ladies and gents, we have got 2 balls left of this over. Oh, in fact, no, sorry, we got 5. Oh, we might as well finish the over. I've almost finished the session, fun fact, but change direction late. I got a golden duck playing that shot, said Jared. Yeah, golden ducks, don't get me wrong, they do suck. Like, no one wants to go out for a duck. Sometimes it takes a long time to be able to score that first run, but once you do, it always makes you feel a lot better. Right, round the wicket for Cougar Lion. Khawaja started to speed up a little bit. He's on to 18 runs off 64 deliveries now. Went from a strike rate of 16 to now 34. So he almost, he's double it compared to how he was at the start of this one. We cover the second day tomorrow. I'm hoping to do some of the second day on the channel. I'm not too sure what session that will be because I think I'll be working during the first session. That is 4 runs, too short from Cougar Line, and he's been hit to the boundary. And I played all over the place. I somehow had a natural ability to play almost any shot. My problem was hand-eye coordination. There would be that old odd ball that I just couldn't pick up. So here's Gavin. Well, that's the thing. We've got a guy who has been playing for us. I don't know whether he's going to be playing for us for the future, but there's a guy who's been playing for us who's extremely good at squash. I think he's ranked about maybe in the top 15 in New Zealand for squash at his age group. And he has never played cricket before this season, but he just has picked it up so easily. Like he's one of those guys that seems to have the hand-eye coordination. Same with his bowling. He's never bowled before. That's going to go to the boundary again. Cougar Line getting this extremely wrong now. And Khawaja moves up to 52 runs on the ball for the Aussies. And he is now there on 26. He's actually overtaken Steve Smith. Poor bowling from Cougar Line. Have a nice rest of the day. Says Duxter, you too. Will you be back for the third session? I believe my cricket session will be on during the third, so I won't be able to cover that one. Before you go, can you advise how to counter a ball nipping back and through cross seam? See, the ball coming back in is very tricky, and I'm no expert because I've been bowled from that as well, but you just got to make sure that you've got a nice, like, compact defense. If you're playing defensively, that is, you've got to make sure that that bat's right next to the pad. And yes, every once in a while, you will end up with it hitting your pad and you go out. It's actually how I went out 2 weeks ago. LBW was because it came back in off the surface and went into the pad, but just got to keep a close eye on it and try and just get some sort of bat on it. I used to struggle with the gut shot. I preferred straight drives and pull shots, says Jared. See, I can't play like the normal shot that any kid wants to play is that massive shot playing leg side out mid-wicket. I can't play that shot. I don't have it in my batting arsenal, which is really annoying because you could score a lot of runs out there, but I can't play that shot effectively. Nicely played by Steve Smith to the leg side. And that'll be the end of the over. 55 for none for the Australians. 10 runs off the Cougar Line over. Nonetheless, do thank you all very much for tuning into this live stream. Like I said, we might be back tomorrow for a little bit more of the cricket if we can get it in. But, yeah. Thanks so much. Maybe nipping balls are hell. Teach the kids great cricket today. Have a nice day, says Spartan. You too. I think it's the middle of the night for yourself, so hopefully you do end up getting some more sleep. And playing mid-wicket is the most easy shot. That's what a lot of people say, but I don't have that shot. I was always taught to play straight and to play out through cover. So leg sidewise, that shot, you might as well not have any fielders on that side, and it probably wouldn't change if I get it out there or not. Bowling was much more my thing. I learned from 6 years old, leg spin, in later years, fast, medium, off spin. Thanks, Emmy, and have a good day. Night, everyone. And the waving from Robert. And there as well. But nonetheless, do thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, sure leave a like and subscribe. I will see you all. I have an exam in 3 hours, can't sleep. Well, good luck with your exam then. Hopefully it does go well. And then you will be able to sleep maybe after it. So you're saying you can't slog. Yep, pretty much. I don't have, square of the wicket doesn't exist for me. There was one innings that I really tried to get runs on the leg side and it went all right. But it felt like I was one shot away from going out every time. Will O'Rourke back into the bowling attack, I should mention, for the New Zealanders. But nonetheless, I will be heading off, mainly because we've got a very busy day planned. But hopefully, you guys have enjoyed this short amount of coverage. We will do more in the future. And also, I am actually going to be going to the match in Christchurch. So maybe we'll be able to do some sort of video from the ground. Would be quite cool as well. But thank you all very much for tuning in. I will see you all for the next one.